What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another PS5 news update. So yeah, I don't really know what to call this video. I guess I'm just titling it as a news update because I'm going to be covering a couple of things here in this video that are a bit too small to make an individual video about. So I've kind of compiled them all here into one video. So firstly, we do have a bit of PS5 news, and that is that we have a PS5 PUP Decrypter and Unpacker by zecoxao or Control Execute on Twitter. So of course, this is only really useful for developers. PUP files are essentially like kind of archives. They're container files that contain other files inside, and they are encrypted. And so far, we haven't been able to really access the contents of these PUP files on the PS5 until now. So Control Execute has released a decryptor. So they need to be decrypted first, and then they can be unpacked to get the file contents from those PUP files. So essentially what zecoxao has got here, we've got the decryptor on GitHub. Now, this doesn't currently work in its current form because it does require libraries from the software development kit of the PS5, the SDK, which we currently don't have. So I guess some developers have access to that SDK and can add those libraries in there and get this decryptor to work. But at the moment, not that this is really useful for end users anyway, but without the SDK, you're not going to be able to actually, use this decryptor. However, zecoxao has released some pre-decrypted files. So he's got a bunch of firmware updates for the PS5 here that are already decrypted for you. So you can kind of test the unpacker on these already decrypted files. So I've gone ahead and downloaded the 6.02 decrypted PUP update here, as well as the PUP Unpacker. Now, the Unpacker will work just fine. It doesn't require any extra libraries or anything from the SDK. So we've got our decrypted PUP file and we have our PUP Unpacker. And you need to use a Linux-based system in order to unpack the files. But basically, you just run the script to run the Unpacker on the file that you want to unpack, the decrypted PUP file. And then if we go ahead and run that here, you can see it unpacks the contents of this system update for the PS5. If I go into this folder, you can see all of the extracted contents. So we've got the kernel.bin that actually, updates the system. You've got that right there. You've got your version number, update mode, elf file, a few bin files in here, the end user license agreement in all the different languages are there in that XML file. And then you have a few other things inside the dev folder. You actually have some files for the S-Flash, which is the NOR chip on the PS5, which is interesting because that's something you have to do with the revert method on the PS4, is you have to back up your S-Flash so that you can restore it if you ever want to revert your firmware back down. And that is because whenever you update the system, it also updates the S-Flash. It updates the firmware on the NOR chip as well during a system update. And it looks like the PS5 is the same there. And yeah, you've got a few image files in here, a few more image files in there. So yeah, you can basically extract PUP files for system updates. There's other files on the hard drive of the PS5 that are also contained inside these PUP files. So those can now be decrypted and extracted for the developers, which is a good step forward. So I believe zecoxao created this without him actually owning a jailbreakable system himself, just using testers. So he does have a Ko-Fi setup so that he can try and get himself a PS5 to develop on as a jailbreakable system. So I'll leave his Ko-Fi link down in the video description if you want to donate and help him achieve that goal. So another thing I wanted to cover here is people running PT on the PS5. There's a lot of hype that I've been seeing about this, and I just wanted to kind of cover how this is done, because there is a bit of confusion where some people think that there's some kind of special hack going on here, like a hen or fake package files. It's nothing like that, unfortunately. You still need the license file for the game in order to run it. So in this example here, Lance McDonald managed to get PT running on the PS5 on the latest firmware 6.02. So the method for doing this, in case you want to do it yourself, if you have PT licensed to one of your PSN accounts, all you really need to do here is you take your jailbroken PS5, your PS5 that's on a jailbreakable firmware, and you run Specters exploit to enable the debug settings so that you can then install the retail package file for PT. You install that onto the PS5. Once you have it installed, you then run the exploit again and load the FTP payload, and then you go on the hard drive and you update the whitelist, which blocks PT from running, and you update that whitelist to allow PT to run, which I showed in my previous video on how to run unsupported apps on the PS5. So you do that, you update that file, and then PT is runnable, but because you probably don't have your account linked on your jailbreakable PS5, you probably still won't be able to run it. It will still show up with the padlock. So at that point, you basically create a backup to a USB drive. You create a system backup to the USB drive with the game. And when you do a backup, it doesn't just back up the game, it also backs up your updated whitelist as well to the USB on that backup. And you can then restore that backup on your 6.02 PS5, your latest PS5, the PS5 that's on the latest firmware, and you restore that backup onto that PS5, and that will restore not just the game, but also the updated whitelist that allows the game to run. And since you're on the latest firmware, you can then sign into a PSN account that has PT linked to it, and that will give you the license and you'll be able to run the game on the latest firmware on the PS5. That's how Lance McDonald did it. That's how you can do it if you want to be able to run PT. Or if you're lucky enough to have your PSN profile that has PT linked to it on the jailbroken PS5 anyway, and you still have the license file, then you can just run it directly on the jailbreakable PS5 as well. So yeah, that's essentially how people are running PT. There's no magic to it. There's no special, hen, homebrew enabler, or fake package file to allow you to run it. The people who are running it are only running it because they have the license file, they have the game linked to their PSN account from when they downloaded it years ago off the store. So that's why. So anyway, that's what's going on there with PT and getting that running on the PS5. So that's what's going on there on the PS5. And that did lead me to a question on what can actually be backed up and restored from one PS5 to another and what gets discarded. So I've basically set up my PS5 here, my jailbreakable PS5, with all the stuff from Jose Gonzalez, where he's basically given me a database file that has all the stuff on here, all this like debug stuff. So we've got the store preview, we've got this auto package installer, which is kind of like it's not like a completed version. We also have the Game Hub preview app as well. We also have the debug settings link. We have the SSD storage, a shortcut to the SSD storage. We've got the IDU app, which doesn't run on 4.03, requires a higher firmware. We have a link to the web browser to automatically launch the web browser. And of course, we also have PT, and I've updated the whitelist to unlock PT, as you can see here, so that it's no longer showing as incompatible. So I've done all of that there, and I also, of course, have the notification that has the web browser in here, and I've got my shortcuts to launch various different sites and a shortcut to the debug settings. I also have my updated profile picture there in the top right hand corner. So the question is, if I create a backup onto my USB and restore this backup onto a PS5 that's on a higher firmware, how much of this stuff will be restored and how much will be discarded? So let's go ahead and check this out. So I'm going to go to settings, I'm going to go down to system, and then of course we're going to go to system software and backup and restore, backup your PS5, modded warfare profile, and I'm going to select everything, games and apps, as well as save data and screenshots and video clips and settings. So everything backed up to my USB drive. Okay, there we go. Backup is complete. I'll press OK. And then I will try and restore that backup on my retail PS5 that's not on a jailbreakable firmware and see how much of that backup can be restored on that system. Okay, so here I am on my retail system. It has been reset quite recently. So if we go into settings, this isn't on the latest firmware, but it is not on a jailbreakable firmware, because if I go into system, console information, you can see this system is on 5.00. So it is not jailbreakable. I cannot run the exploit on this system. So let's see what happens if we restore that backup. So we'll go down to backup and restore your PS5, and there's the backup right there. So we'll hit restore and see what happens. We're rebuilding database. That may be a bad sign, because it's probably found there might be something corrupt in the database. Okay, PlayStation. Okay, so we do have our avatar showing up. So that was successfully backed up and restored, the profile picture. And unfortunately, pretty much everything else is gone. So all of our custom links to the debug settings and to, SSD storage, store preview, the web browser link, all of that stuff has not been backed up and not been restored. Nothing in media either. That is unfortunate. And I don't believe, if we skip tour, I don't believe, yeah, the notifications weren't backed up either. So the only thing that seems to have been backed up is the whitelist and the games, of course. And the IDU client app as well also has not been backed up or not been restored, which is unfortunate. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, PT, pretty much that's all you can really do is you can back up, you know, apps that you install with the package installer, as long as they're retail apps. You can back them up and restore them onto a higher firmware PS5, and the whitelist as well, which allows the game to run, because as you can see, even though I'm on this 5.0 system, the message does not pop up that says that the app is not compatible with the PS5. So of course, if I did have a PSN account that had PT license to it, like Lance McDonald does, and I signed into it and I updated my system to the latest firmware, I could run PT. But of course, I don't have that on any of my accounts, so it's unfortunately going to stay locked for me, just like it does on my jailbreakable system. But yeah, so pretty much the only thing that seems to get backed up and restored is the whitelist, any games that you back up, so anything you install with the package installer, any retail packages you install with the package installer, and of course your avatar image as well, your little profile picture on your account. So yeah, that seems to be it, unfortunately. So anyway, at least we did that little experiment. So, okay, so the last thing that I wanted to mention here at the end is something that's been known about for a while now. But, you know, if you've been living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard about this. But of course, the exploit, Specters exploit on the PS5 now supports more firmwares. That's been backported essentially to run on older firmwares, so that you don't have to update to 4.03 in order to use the exploit, because of course it's better to stay on as low a firmware as possible right now on the PS5, because we don't have a full jailbreak yet and we don't know what firmware, you know, we'll get a hypervisor exploit for. So therefore it's best to stay on as low a firmware as possible until a full jailbreak comes out. But there's a lot of people there who probably want to, you know, at least try out the partial jailbreak, and that kind of causes a conflict of people, you know, wanting to update to 4.03 to try out the partial jailbreak, when they really should stay on whatever firmware they're currently on if it's lower than 4.03. So now if you are on any of these older firmwares, you know, 3.0 or higher, then you can try out the exploit now without having to update your systems. So the exploit's now supported on 3.0, 3.10, 3.20, 3.21, 4.0, 4.02, and of course 4.03, 4.50, and 4.51. So all of those firmwares should theoretically work. The reason why on EchoStretch's host here we've got the two X's under 3.10 and 4.0 is that I believe these just haven't been tested yet, or they may have, like, you know, some slight tweaks that need to be made. So if you are on 3.10 or 4.0, then you should definitely test this out for the developers so that they can confirm that it works, or that you can give them any information that they need from your console in order to be able to add compatibility for those firmwares. But theoretically, you know, the exploit should work on those firmwares as well. So yeah, more firmwares are now supported with the PS5 exploit. So yeah, that's basically it for this update, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.